Howdy. Hello, have a good afternoon. Um, my name's Larry RYPE, San Geronimo Valley Community Center Visual Arts Coordinator. And this is the 5th edition already of the Virtual Artist Salon. We've started this early this year just as a way to kind of bring people together during the pandemic and the shelter in place. And it's been a very gratifying, kind of successful activity for us and has functioned in that respect. We're starting to open up, obviously, and people are out in the sun and all that. So we'll see how this goes in the future. But we're hoping to continue doing some form of an artist salon so we can continue to bring artists together within the context of the community. And we are recording these, which I think is a very valuable aspect of it, because we're creating a video library of these, which become sort of oral histories or visual histories, actually, documents. And we've successfully done so with Para, who's sitting over in the corner there, I can see, and Liz Walker, Judith Selby Lang, and Richard Lang, and the Harlan Floyd legacy. The family all pitched in, and we showed the photos of Harlan Floyd. And I think that's been all of them, except now we're up to Anne Pennypacker. And I'm really pleased to have Anne join us with this. She's been a part of the Valley. I thought was born in the Valley, but almost basically raised in the Valley, and definitely a participant in many of the community center art shows, the spring art show, the photography show, and a whole bunch of other shows that we've done over the last many years. And many of her family members have also participated in many of those shows, as we were talking about just a little bit earlier. So basically, what I know is that Anne's gone to I think UCLA for art history, and then she's also gone to a number of other places to study art and involved in a certification in terms of graphic arts, and really has her hands on a lot of different medium, and is very active, very busy in the arts in so many different ways, which is going to be very cool, I think, to kind of hear a bit about that and her strategies for staying in the arts, which is a big issue for artists in general, is having some means of surviving and thriving and promoting themselves and getting their work out there. So we're just going to kind of visit and check out all of the above. Anyway, welcome, Anne.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That's a great intro. I appreciate it. And it's great to be here. And thank you for considering me and featuring me. This is very exciting. So, yeah.
I do love the variety of having so many different kinds of artists who do so many different kinds of things. I just want to quickly say that that's one of the things that I've always enjoyed about my job as visual arts coordinator, is that I've sort of had to go to a lot of people's studios and see how they work. And that's really been a lot of fun. And this is kind of a vicarious way of doing the same thing. We get to take a peek on how you put things together and how you think about your work.
Right. Yeah. Well, I hope I can articulate that clearly. So good. Thank you. Yeah. So yeah, as Larry said, I paint in everything from gouache to watercolor to acrylics and oil paints and so much more. And something I try to embrace is in my painting approach mostly is, I try to embrace the beauty and humor in the wordless fleeting moments of the human experience. And I want to find the common magical spark in those universal moments that make them so comforting or hilarious to us all. And I like to also find the importance in the underappreciated and the beauty in the crevices of the daily dullnesses, I like to say. But also I like to, which is kind of very on the flip side, also find the importance to embody an imaginative, playful, whimsical spirit in most of my works, because I think playtime is for adults too. So, so it's very invigorating to participate and see others participating as well in, playtime. So yeah, I I wasn't born in the Valley, but we moved to the Valley in early 90s, I believe 91. And starting then, I came to love the environment and just hiking almost all the trails and just getting to know the entire area. And actually, going back to the very beginning, I was raised by a couple of unique hippies that you might know, Peter and Sally Pennypacker, and they brought us up in a fun-loving, free-spirited, and very curious environment where I discovered various media from my father. And then we also would go to the museums and have a very strong respect for the fine art institutions and the traditionalism of that. So yeah, and so early on, I immediately took an interest in what I consider the irreverent and the hilarious and playful, like Robert Arneson and Philip Guston and Wayne Thiebaud, just to name a few, just to get started. So yeah, that was, I think I was only 8 years old when my favorite t-shirt was a portrait by Robert Arneson, and it was just like the best. And I'm pretty sure my mom did not like seeing his face on her daughter too much at that age, but it was my favorite. I don't know where it went. Oh my God, I want it back. So yeah, like you said, I attended UCLA, and soon after I went to CCA for a few illustration art classes and design courses, and I went to Santa Rosa Junior College, and then I landed in College of Marin at Chester Arnold's evening classes and just fell in love with the community and just the teaching style and just, everything, the routine. It just became such a close-knit family of just support, and we keep in touch still. It's wonderful. I really love it. So
Chester Arnold, that name certainly comes up an awful lot in people's inspiration list. Yeah. It's funny because he's an artist, but I also consider him a poet because in class, and he's a pianist. I mean, he's just this huge source of inspiration when you sit down in class, even just for, a painting tutorial to begin the evening. It becomes this just spiritual experience. It's wonderful. So yeah, wonderful. I'm glad I was so lucky. So yeah. So anyways, I've been attending group exhibits at the O'Hanlon and Artworks Downtown and Marin Society of Artists and Sebastopol Art Center, and I've been doing a lot of local craft fairs as well. So yeah, I've been trying to make sure that, I'm growing, I'm challenging myself, and I'm kind of out there present. Of course, that took a pause last year, but I'm still, I went online the way you guys did. So it's all, a shifting fluid experience. It's nice. When you say you, and for you, did that make it easier? The fact that you could easily go online, which you weren't just solely dependent on what gallery space was available at a given time, but I mean, or did you find that still was a little bit limiting, or was that?
I think it's a little bit of both. I felt like I was more flexible about getting into shows that don't require you to show up and drop off art. In fact, well, actually, that wasn't too much of a problem, but with the fears around COVID, there are limitations and whatnot. But it definitely made public speaking a more accessible practice for me. To begin with, I am still like working on it, but I feel like I wouldn't touch that with a 10-foot pole early on, but now I'm just like I feel like I'm beginning to stretch my legs and get better at it. So especially when it comes to not only just public speaking in general, but talking about your own art. That's something I've been able to practice a lot this year. So because of Zoom and COVID, so there's a silver lining.
Well, since I'm asking, I hope you don't mind if I'm still asking a question, but so
Absolutely.
in terms of the shutdown and the pandemic, did you find that you became more creative or less creative? This is something, I mean, it's gone both ways when I talk to artists.
Oh yeah, yeah. There's, I think there were waves because there's the overwhelm and the anxiety and the fear, just everything. When you're bombarded by so much news and not only with COVID, but the political atmosphere last year, it definitely, overwhelmed. And, everyone has the fight, flight, or freeze. And I think I froze a lot
Uh-huh.
last year where it was just, I was incapable of processing that information and moving on so that I could focus on art. But I think I also had other waves where I would hit a wall, an energy wall of just, okay, I have all this pent up energy, creative energy that I need to, get out there somehow. And I found with my many um, media that I love, I found some way to get it out. So yeah, so I think in some ways I was stunted at many times, but I think I was able to also just kind of pick up a pencil or scissors and paper, and it just, it helped me release some of the anxiety, but also the pent up creative energy. So
Yeah,
yeah.
like I said, because I've seen some people that it did sort of paralyze them, and other people, the anxiety actually became the expressive
Right.
engine, that
Oh,
got going.
absolutely. Yeah. I follow an artist slash illustrator who um, made a daily practice to create a visual journal every day and post it online so she could keep herself, accountable to
Yeah,
her fan base. And by having that, which some people think is, you don't have to be accountable to a fan base on social media, but by doing that, it actually kept her routine every single day of just drawing out things she ate, things she did, everything. And it just, even if that's all she drew all day, it helped her keep that artistic muscle, practiced.
well,
So
I envy that because that's the
yeah,
kind of right. I found myself kind of like stuck,
right. Yeah, you might
kind of
be
liberate that.
right. Yeah, it's, some people freeze, and I think that was a common one for a lot of us last year. But a lot of us liked to fight it, and I think that's when, with the fight, flight, or freeze. Those are the people that really just went crazy on their canvases. So I highly, respect that because it was tough last year. So
Well, and
yeah.
you have so so many different kinds of work. Are you
Yeah. Oh
what
yeah.
show it anytime soon?
Yeah. Oh no. Here, I'll just jump right into that. I can.
I don't even think I mentioned when I started because you are a designer, you're a graphic artist, but you do painting. I think I initially knew you as a photographer. You were in the photography shows, but I mean, the
Yes.
last things I saw by you were like the shows we've done where you've been doing landscape painting. So, I mean, I know you're
Right.
in a lot of different zones here.
Exactly. So I can hop right past this. These are my links, and I'll show them at the end as well. But yeah, as you probably might know me as the photographer, I submitted photography at the spring art events probably for 3 or 4 years, I believe.
Yeah,
I can't remember. But yeah, and not only that, I had my trail exhibit in the community center. So yeah,
I
that
remember
was
now.
yeah, that was great. And that's what is I believe being featured in the newspaper article. So yeah, it was my form of that was my medium, and it was a really quick and easy way to make compositions or find a composition either on the fly or in the studio. And it helped me hone my technique with color, saturation, and in the post when I was in Photoshop, but also with, trying to find a working composition, focusing on negative space and everything. So that really did help me with kind of just strengthening my eye. So yeah, that is how I started. But you might also know me as the woman with the breastuses. And so,
And
so yeah,
that photo looks like it's from the spring art show. Which year was the
that's
breast
right.
year?
I believe that was 2019. What am I talking about? That was 2019.
Okay.
And yeah, I actually created them in 2018 for a breast exhibit in San Francisco. And it was, like, you know, I believe that one had over 100 breasts, but this one had like something around 76 breasts in the piece. So yeah, it really, and they're all removable and they can all, you know, it was all Velcroed together. So they can actually be individual as well. So yeah, so and these were oil, which is what I mostly learned from Chester Arnold's class. And I was able to really strengthen and hone my skills in that class. And I wouldn't say that class directly inspired the breast movement, but it was definitely part of it. So, but you might also know me for my acrylics, which I've been painting more of recently, mostly because I'm working from home and I want to make sure it's like a well ventilated area. And so I've been mostly working with that. And these kind of paintings, both oil and acrylic, help me focus on my technical skills and work on my, focus on lighting and just kind of making sure that my traditional approach is still being honed. So yeah, and these two, I believe, are 5x7.
But I was about to ask you, these are pretty small, aren't they? Like 5
Yeah.
inches by 7 inch, right?
Right. Yeah.
I've seen a few of your pieces last time we ever had a show at the community center, and they were very small little landscapes as well.
Yep, exactly. I work tiny, which is what you'll see here. These are acrylic as well. This is me having a little fun, as opposed to the prior slide, which is more traditional focus. But yeah, I enjoy, with focusing on the irreverent, playful, and so that's what this is. And these are 3x3, and it's fun to kind of work small, in my opinion, because it helps you finish a piece in about an hour. And it also, it's a more intimate experience too. You're not putting it on an easel or anything. I personally feel like I need to cradle it in my hand, and it's a very nice, kind of like Geppetto experience where you're, really breathing life into it. So it's nice.
I was going to ask you about the pinatas. I'm glad to see these.
Yeah, I believe I have 13, or I created 13, and a few of them have sold. So, but yeah, they're available for sale. I haven't gotten them on Etsy, but that is a goal of mine soon.
And I have to say, in terms of gallery type shows and stuff, when you have something small, it's strange how attractive it becomes. I find that that people pay a lot more attention sometimes to the small pieces the same way they do the very, very big pieces. It somehow brings people in a different way.
Also I think so. I mean, I think part of it is how it's presented too, but Artworks Downtown did this very unique presentation with my tiny works a couple years ago, where they put it in a jewelry case next to jewelry because it was just so small and it was propped up and it was like handled so well. And I couldn't believe I hadn't thought of that before. Yeah, it's very nice. So yeah, but others, it's just, it's nice. I mean, behind me, you can see these are 2x2 and some places will kind of put them in a small grid together next to matching works. But yeah, it's very unique to deal with something so small, especially
really small.
Like, I don't know if you can see, but I have the whole wire and I have the bracket. I have everything set up just in case it's going on a wall. So yeah. Anyways, I didn't think I'd be doing that today, but perfect. Okay, so yeah, small is definitely my thing. And here we go. These are some of my tiny oils, and some of them are, I believe the two on the left, or the left and the center, are 6x6, but the one on the right is 3x3. So, and these are, I enjoy doing everything smaller just because it's so, you can create such a world in such a tiny amount of space because it's a wonderful portal.
And sometimes your subject matter, I noticed that like on one of your sites, I'm not sure if they're in the slide, you have things like where you paint like a black plastic garbage bag. You know,
Yes,
but I
yeah.
really like it. I mean, I think I wouldn't have necessarily thought of painting it, but you know, but I really like the paint. Is that large or small?
That one, the garbage bag is 8 by 10. And let's see, that one was one of my kind of snarky, irreverent focuses on just kind of the environment. And that's one of my series that I'm is kind of ongoing for me, is I love to focus on landscapes that envelop man-made buildings or you know, automobiles or whatever, you know,
Yeah.
that, so it's this cohesion. It's like a peaceful collaboration between human nature and nature. So yeah, it's ongoing, but I'm sure you will see some of it here. But otherwise, it's kind of like this. The canoe actually is one of them, because it was left in the woods, and I was canoeing or kayaking by, and I just saw it in the middle of the woods where you wouldn't see something like that. It was just hidden there, and
It
someone
was
left it there.
actually,
And
it
nature
was
was,
upright like that.
yeah, yeah.
It looks like a
Uh,
little chapel, like a little cathedral.
it's a little altar or something. It's so curious, and nature is just accepting and growing around it and enveloping it. It regrows. It's funny. It's an interesting relationship we have with it. So yeah. Okay, let's see. So I'm also known for my watercolors, but in a different, mostly online. I don't usually, oh, also in my craft fairs, but I don't usually use my watercolors in an art group art exhibits. And so I kind of have these different sides to me that are more serious and focused on traditional techniques with acrylic and oil. But then when it comes to my watercolors, I really enjoy allowing my imagination and whimsy to kind of take place. I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that watercolor can't be controlled as easily. It's a lot more difficult. And I think it, for me, allows happy mistakes that can lead to whimsy and just you know, a great stage for imagination to take place. So yeah.
And so these are the kind of things you tend to sell. You said Etsy, so you have. We were going to talk about that at some point, but you have a lot of different avenues for your work. I mean, because I mean, like you said, you go to fairs, you do things in
Yep.
galleries, and you have
Yep.
Etsy. I know you have a website. And are
Right.
there other
I have two.
platforms or other means of?
Yeah, I actually I use Redbubble the most for print on demand, and you know, people could just get a print of an art print of any of the works that I have on there, or they could have it printed on a mug or a t-shirt, that kind of thing, depending on their preference of, you know, it's kind of a gift site. But it's all artist based, so it really supports the artist. But there's several of these like Society 6 and Teespring and whatnot, and those all have a slight margin for the artist for each item that sells, and a very intuitive like upload and kind of placement process, so that you can really represent yourself in this online store kind of format, which is really nice. So, and it's kind of this idle income that I set up, and then, it's a lot about, putting your own efforts into the social media, marketing process. But after that, it's really, it'll just kind of take care of itself. So, yeah.
Well, I guess I think of that because when I deal with lots of artists coming to the community center, and every art show and every thing that we do is always, part of it is like, can we sell something? Not so much as the community center is not a profit oriented gallery space, but
Right.
the artists, of course, want their work to get out there, and they want to sell their work, and many of them they're contingent on selling it because that's how they're trying to make their living.
Right. Exactly.
So it's always interesting to me how many other ways there are to get work out there. I've even seen artists who will be putting their work in the, let's say, at the community center and selling their paintings for $200, you know,
Right.
where you think, well, you could also make clay prints of the, you could actually literally sell the print for $200 and keep the painting, you know. It's like,
Exactly. Yeah.
there, you know, I mean, it's just, it depends on which paradigm you're working with. I mean, because a lot of people think it has to be a gallery and it has to be done in this certain means, but I see a lot of painters now who have found ways of selling without galleries or in tandem with galleries. And we've talked about this a lot. It's just like, there's a lot more options for artists. And I kind of think of you as an example of that because of all these different ways you work.
Oh yeah, yeah. And I think there are many artists out there that sell many originals, but then they maybe have 2 or 3 prints of what they consider their best or their most popular, and they sell for a different price point, more affordable for those in a completely different, you know, range. So yeah, and then of course the original either they hold on to or they sell, you know, for, you know, a much higher price. But it's nice because by having prints, you're able to create a wider audience for those who want to collect your art, you know, and still be able to celebrate your artwork, but also not have to, you know, break the bank, or I mean,
Right.
or it's just not out of and not in their range. So yeah, and actually, I also didn't mention earlier, but Imprint is a storefront that I also have for my fine art, and they do fine art prints for on a higher quality paper and whatnot.
Yeah.
So
That's
very
something, that was something I was kept telling myself I had to ask you, because I noticed, for instance, like you have one site that's just for what you call fine art, right? That's
right.
Anne Pennypacker
Yeah.
fine art, and then you have your other ones that are for the other kind of graphic works you do, or the, you know, the design work you do. So that it's not even just having one place to go. You have lots of different sites and things.
Yeah, I'm all over the board. It's nutty. I mean, I used to have just one Instagram, and I ran into this problem of, okay, so I'm mostly painting cats. I have some whimsy, and I'm starting to get into oils, and now I've started painting breasts. Do I post them on the same Instagram? And a lot of people that follow for my cat content is, you know, maybe they're not interested in seeing a breast. I don't know. So I had many friends tell me, like, make separate Instagrams, and from there it really stemmed into a
Yeah.
whole,
So
maybe I should make separate websites.
they have to go like to breast.com or something and then I mean, how
That'd be pretty
divided.
funny. Actually, I wouldn't recommend it. Well, I mean, unless
Yeah.
that's here. But yeah, I actually, it's funny, at the Holly Fair a few years ago, I came across in the book Nook, I found the history of the breast, and I just felt like it was meant for me.
Huh.
Yeah, so it was that year that I was painting the breasts too. So anyways, you know, endless inspiration from the Valley. It's wonderful, no matter what the subject. So yeah, yeah, there's many ways you can sell it on at different price points and whatnot. And I've definitely learned that through my watercolors. And these are more of my watercolors. And I've practiced many of them with either with a very loose style, or also with text, with humor involved. Actually, one challenge that I took on through social media, thanks to, you know, kind of trying to be more involved in social media, is there are things like the hashtag 100-day challenge, and you can apply that to anything. And I applied it to one cat painting a day. And so by doing that, it really cuts out, you know, the fear, the doubt, and kind of eliminates parts of the process. And you have to just, you know, paint every day. And it really helped me get into more gestural, fast
Nice idea.
practices.
I like the moon cat a lot.
Well, thank you. He's very happy. Yeah, actually, a lot of these from this challenge ended up in a calendar that year. I think it was a year or two ago. And it just, it helped me also just kind of strengthen my watercolor technical skills. So that was fun, and my humor, of course. So, but I also have other watercolors that I've done that are also available in Redbubble, and also the originals are available as well on my Etsy page, which I'm sure I've seen so many local artists here have an Etsy page. So yeah, and that's a whole different world where, you know, Etsy handles the transactions and the representation, a little bit of the marketing, but for the most part, you really get to, you know, create your own online store experience there too, and handle the shipping and customer service. So that's nice. Anyways, and then, okay, so let's just open it up and explore all of the mediums that I'm in love with, one of which being gouache, which I discovered, or I've known about, but I rolled my sleeves up and got into it last year. And I started this gouache candied nature series that I still kind of add to every now and then because I just come back to it. I love natural silhouettes and applying color themes to it. And it really, just having that kind of collaboration allows me to, you know, kind of have my imagination explode with, you know, what I can do in terms of the stripes and the combos. So yeah, and oh God, that creamy matte texture that happens when it dries is just wonderful. So, and then I've also, and this is the part of me is where I just have a little bit of everything. I love pastels, and this is probably about 2011 or 2012 that I focused on pastels for probably a solid 6 or 8 months. And I even made YouTube videos of myself in the process of making them. And these are huge. And so I did once work large scale. And it really, you know, as you can see in the little screenshots of the video, it's great to just get into the texture and really get hands-on with the media. The medium it's delicious. Anyways, I learned a lot that year with pastels, also because I think I wanted to go camping, but I didn't feel comfortable bringing my paints. So I just packed pastels, and I got messy anyways. So.
Well, and
Oh,
how do you jump into the different medium? I mean, because I think what you said about your initial education, you went to UCLA, but you went to art history.
yes.
You didn't actually do that much drawing or paint. You did mostly studying of art, right?
Right. No, I did not. And I think that was a little bit of pent up creative energy right there, because I was learning so much and I was becoming so inspired by everything I was seeing. And, you know, at UCLA, the art program is very exclusive, and you pretty much have to be an art major to take any art classes.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So, and I mean, unless you squeeze yourself in there and wait 2 weeks to see if there's an empty seat,
Yeah.
and it's just it was tough. I got into 2 classes. One was photography, which was great, and the other was sculpture. And I made a skateboard, which was very fun.
So,
Uh,
but
yeah.
so when you've gotten into these other like pastel, or you go to oil, or is that kind of mostly self-taught, or is that by way of the different art classes you've taken at College of Marin and just different places?
You know, one thing that I haven't mentioned yet is that Anne Fought was a teacher of mine in middle school and high school. After school, it was private lessons with a friend, and she introduced a lot of these mediums to me as well. And I think I would have to say a lot of it came from either working with her and learning from her, or also with my father. He taught me a lot, or he introduced me to many things. So yeah, that was the beginning of it.
I recall like probably one of the last shows was Where We Call Home, where we did that show, and you had some small landscape that Anne was talking about. That she mentioned that to me, that you'd been a student of hers.
Yeah, huge inspiration. I have so many amazing memories of just visiting. I think it was every Thursday afternoon, and you know, we would just jump right in. And I
Mhm.
think she would sometimes have this introductory exercise of taking a piece of paper and turning it into something so dynamic within, I think you had only so much time, and that would take us from our school minds where we just left and bring us into this creative environment, which was just amazing. So yeah, I learned a lot.
Part of the good fortune of the Valley is that there would be that, even those kind of resources all over the place. And that's something else is so your parents, I was going to ask you more about that, but they really were kind of guiding you through a lot of, or either creating the environment for you or showing you, because I know like your father does photography.
Yeah.
and I've seen a lot of Pennypacker work in different art shows, including, I think I mentioned your sister was also in some shows for a while and that sort of thing. So
Yeah, right, exactly.
I'd say it was a real arts environment at home.
I mean, mostly, yeah. I think a lot of it is just, on the weekends, it became, I mean, either a weekend where we were going outdoors and in just camping and hiking and really celebrating the natural environment, or it was a weekend where we were visiting museums and going all over the art scene in San Francisco. So it's, yeah, I think it was it always felt like one or the other, which is what I still try to practice nowadays. So yeah, it really, it was supportive. So yeah.
Is that really a chunk of meat, by the way?
That is a slab of steak. Yeah. And a lot of my work when I'm simply practicing and getting to know or trying to get better at medium is I just use a lot of either photos that I take out in the world, or screenshots that I take from the internet where I'm inspired and I know I have to try to master it eventually. So yeah. So yes, that's meat. And let's see. I've also have a lot of experience in inks, and it's something that I definitely feel like I want to revisit more. But the first two at the top are a series that I did that started out as a different challenge from social media that they call Inktober, where you do another ink illustration every day for each month of October. And they usually have creepy themed prompts, but I just wanted to do a cat themed illustration every day. And this is something actually that grew into over 100 illustrations that I eventually have set up to be possibly, soon, hopefully, a published, self-published book called The Adventures of a Cat in a Box. So yeah. And then, yeah. No, go for it. Oh, sorry.
Just the wash drawings. I was curious about those.
Yeah, the bottom three are from a series that I did at the beginning of Shelter in Place. And I wanted to kind of practice inks again, but I also wanted to just, show the weird silence that followed the beginning of Shelter in Place. And it was peaceful, but it was also, there's a static to it that was, curious. And it was nice because it helped me revisit that whole like, ooh, I want a whole range of tones, or I want to stay within just one tight range. So it really got me thinking again. I think I had a moment of freezing up once the Shelter in Place started, and then this kind of got me moving again, one could say. So yeah, that's one of my things. The next is, again, I probably froze up for another, few weeks of no art. And then I dove back in with paper cutting. And I usually get stuck on details and everything. And it slows me down. It takes sometimes it takes the free loving spirit out of the moment of painting. And so, I do love details, but getting into this general shaped art, the focus of just kind of designing shapes it got me into a different mindset. So it was nice. It kind of loosened things up, and I think I was getting a little tight. So yeah. And some of these I actually I scanned and turned them into vector illustrations later that I believe are online. So yeah, I'm trying everything. It's just from paper to digital, it's all over the place. And this is probably the widest range of everything I've tried, where I've played with hand lettering and book binding and foam core, little house building, and
Oh, yeah, yeah.
yeah. And then I've been playing with creating little sculptures for a mini sculpture garden where it's got a kind of an aluminum foil core with a polymorph clay that you can bake at home after you're done. And it's just covered in acrylic paints after that. But yeah, I've done a huge range where I'm always curious about something else. And I always want to practice it once I see it. I just want to see what I can do with it too. And I mean, there's so much more too, like paper mache. I've done a couple in the past, but there's so much more. And just, there's just, oh God. Anyways, there's so many. And this is just the beginning, I think. But I do have, my 3 strong focuses with acrylics, oils, and watercolors, I believe. But this is the breadth. This is me just having a wandering eye and enjoying it all, because why not? It's
You
nice
just,
to, oh yeah.
I was just gonna, do you just like head for the studio every morning or something, or how do you have a pattern to all that?
Sometimes I do. Sometimes it's mostly that I either, depending on COVID or not, I'm either freelancing, and I, kind of prioritize that during the day, and in the afternoon and evening, I jump into my ongoing projects. It's usually either in the studio or out in the dining room, which is, it's spreading like wildfire. But yeah, I usually do that. Or if it's pre-COVID times, I was, working full time as a graphic designer and coming home and just jumping right into
Hmm.
painting right away.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's usually the routine. And then these things like the random little sculptures and everything, sometimes I just find that I'm doing it on a Friday night while we're, relaxing and watching a movie or something. So yeah, it comes when it comes, and then I just start creating. So yeah, this is the last one where I actually pivoted my career last year during COVID, during shelter in place, and I started focusing on digital illustration more and practicing it more. And it's actually helped me start to pivot my entire career by the end of last year and into this year with digital illustration and growing a client base. So I'm
Hmm.
actually working with EAC right now in Point Reyes to create a series of illustrations, which should be coming soon. So yeah. So
It
that's,
must be kind of strange to hop back and forth between digital to oil painting to, I mean, it's like
yeah.
different parts of your brain or something.
And I think that's one thing that I feel like it everyone, and I understand the importance of focusing on one medium, because it does help you become strong in that one medium. But I also feel like being able to pivot and play in different media, you're actually feeding that inspiration. You're maybe loosening some things up a little bit that you're getting a little tight over, and it kind of crosses boundaries and helps inspire new projects in painting. And I know that when I started painting in gouache, it started to help me see things differently with acrylic, like in terms of just blocking out colors more and looking at maybe less details, and how can I best, show a visual and get that understanding across without too many brush strokes. So yeah, they really help each other, I think, especially with this kind of illustration. Like, I mean, some of it happens without a single pencil mark, but a lot of it happens with me working traditionally first, manually first, and then going into digital. So it translates. And I think in my opinion, it's like traveling the world and speaking as many languages as you can, so you really can travel. And it's nice. I feel like I can speak a little bit of, each language so
Hmm.
far.
Yeah.
So yeah. Um, and the most recent focus that I've also shown in It's Virtually Spring group exhibit is my ongoing, or my book that it started out as a zine, and it's going to be a self-published book this summer. And it's in gouache, and
Oh,
yeah, and let's see, it's how I would put it is a series of vignettes of the human experience where a single hair has inspired a brief moment of either frenzied chaos or complete wonderment. And it kind of catches you in a moment. And I feel like most of these have happened, most of these moments have happened to me where it just makes you wonder, that's not my hair. And, what's the story behind, well, except for the one where, it's like under your shirt and you're like, is that a spider? And you're freaking out. But yeah, it definitely kind of, it implies something. It really, it kind of makes your mind kind of whir a little bit. And I love those moments. So that's what I'm trying to capture in this series. So, and it's been such a learning process in terms of, cohesion and commitment, and, making sure that everything is kind of working together in terms of a balance between detail and just kind of composition. So yeah. Oh, and in terms of self-publishing companies, which there are so many options, I've recently focused mostly on BookBaby or let's see, Ingram Spark, and those two are probably the top runners for me. But I know there's so many more, like Blurb, and oh, I know I have a list here, but it's just that
what was the second one you mentioned?
Ingram Spark, or Ingram, I believe people refer to. Let's see.
I'm not sure I've heard it. Well, and in a case like this, you're doing these in gouache, and then you're going to scan them yourself and make JPEGs or some format that you then send.
Yeah.
I'm just curious about the whole process. Is that correct, or is there?
Yeah, and a lot of people, what they would do is finish the artwork and send it to either a publishing house that would do that for them, or to a graphic designer that would lay out the book. And being a graphic designer, I already have the scanner and the software to make it digital, get it high res, and make it color, do all the color correction to make sure it's accurate and ready and consistent, and lay it out in the book format and prepare the book cover and everything. So it's really, having kind of this whole breadth of knowledge has helped me be able to not just work as the artist, but also as like the design team and the marketing team and whatnot.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, and some of these like Blurb or what have you, a lot of them have a template that you just insert your stuff into. Do you get to have more control when you're doing it yourself than their template? Or
Yeah. And both that, and also, I mean, if you're working with a graphic designer, either with or separate from those companies, you can have a little more say in it. But if you're using templates, yeah, it really does narrow down your options. But you can still, I'm sure there's wiggle room for layout for sure. But yeah.
how many pages will this be?
This will be depending on, there's this one or two extra illustrations that I'm thinking of applying to the series, and it's going to probably be either 36 or 40 pages.
My goodness.
Yeah. But each page or each spread will have like as you can see, I have some text ready. So it's not just the paintings, little explanation of the moment that people are caught in. So yeah. And I have several other books, or like I like to call bookettes, that my editor is working with me on. And these are all, I either started them as a book or as a zine, and now they're all on the same level where I just want to self-publish and yeah, get them out there. And Adventures of Cat in a Box is a cat that fell asleep in their owner's box and went to many magical places in their sleep. And Weirdo is an anthem for all just being different and owning it and not being afraid of other people's opinion. And Strange and Lovely is, let's see, limericks that are both odd and beautiful, that are curious. They kind of give you a curious vignette. And then the ultimately fantastical Adventure of Epic Proportions is kind of an adventure story of all of my favorite ingredients coming together into one sandwich. So yeah.
Very cool.
There's a lot. And as you can see, we have ink, we have watercolor, that's watercolor too, and pencil. So I have the wandering eye, and the playfulness of a child that I don't quite want to limit too much, just because I feel like I enjoy a little bit of everything. So yeah. Oh yeah, go for it, sorry.
Oh. No, I was just going, oh yeah, about your studio. I like the.
Oh yeah, and this is my very limited curated tour of my studio space, which is also currently a work from home space. So that's why I'm doing it in photo form instead of video, because there's a lot going on in one room. But I have my space for creating, and I have like kind of my learning space where I have tons of books that I love to refer to, and also shipping materials for when I sell something on Etsy. And I have materials just sitting there waiting to be painted on and painted with. So it's just all fun. And it's tough to keep it organized, but that's a practice in itself. So yeah. Oh, and as you can see in the on the tabletop is my favorite book this year, Big Magic. And I highly recommend it if you haven't read it. It's just so, it's written by Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote Eat, Pray, Love. And it's, so from her perspective, it's about being a writer and, responding to the moments of inspiration, or knowing how to keep a routine or keep your life balanced as an artist. And she speaks across the platforms of dance and painting and all types of art. And it's so applicable as an artist, and I highly recommend it. So yeah. And lastly, one other form of, I guess, art that category that I've been practicing recently is performance art. And this is air guitar, which is really hard to explain. But in a nutshell, it is performance art that is incredibly theatrical, and it's all about picking a costume and picking a song and choosing a persona and getting up on stage and competing with, and it never really truly feels like a competition because you love everyone involved, and just competing with your best, theatrical performance. It is hilarious. And on the left side, you'll see the top is me, my first year in 2019, I believe. And then the bottom is me. I'm kind of evolved. And my character is Whole Lotta Rosé. And then on the right side is my husband, who he started out both trying out Chewrocca and Honest Air Lincoln. And he's mostly at the lower side. You can see he's stuck with Chewrocca as his persona, and it fits because he's 6'7", so it works.
Oh, whoa!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's fun. It's a great community. It's a wonderful family that you join. It's international, and I've only competed on a national level, and it's, there are regional competitions in almost every major city. And then when it gets to the world world championship, it is usually held it is always held in Oulu, Finland. And they started it, what year did they start it? It's like 2003, I think. So yeah, it's just been this ongoing world that's been growing, and it's just it's wonderful to be a part of, because you can just be a completely different person and have fun.
And so the Finns lead in international, I mean, they lead in air guitar. So, and you said it was, I think you told me there was a big one coming up in Chicago or something?
Yes, yeah, they have a national championship happening in Chicago that's going to be aired by ESPN a couple months later. So, you know, keep your eyes peeled for that. But yeah, it used to be that everything was online for this because of COVID, and for this season at least. And for the national championship, it will be actually in person. So yeah, in Chicago. So, which is what it used to be. So it's very nice to have things back to normal. So yeah.
And the competition's based on style,
Yes. Oh yeah. The
the
judging.
accuracy. I mean, must be some whole criteria for
Yep.
how you gauge when someone's pretending to play guitar. You know, it seems like a really difficult thing to assess.
It's hard to pin down, but for the most part, they have three points of judging. One is technical accuracy. The next is how you use the stage. If you use and abuse it, that's better. You know, you want to have that energy. And then the third is having that airness about you, which I think is kind of just showing your embodiment and understanding of the music itself, which I think should come first. And I think it does with most people. So yeah, you can become an air guitarist yourself at home.
Do they hold up judge cards? Like,
oh yeah,
they do it just like that, just like
yeah,
that.
absolutely, yeah. And it's just like like ice skating, it's figure skating, sorry, where it's on a scale of from 4.0 to 6 and 6.0, and 6.0 being the highest. And yeah, it's great.
So this getting up and spazzing out doesn't really do much for you. You have to really look like you're
right. I mean, you can spaz out so long as your hands are doing the right thing. So yeah, and like the more energy, the better, I think. Because if you're just standing there, you're not really. It doesn't translate that you're enjoying it as much, or you know, it's really great to make sure that your performance has an infectious energy to it. So yeah.
When you first told me about this, it's one of those things that kind of opens up your head that you think there's something else in the world that I could never have imagined existed.
Right. It's so true. Yeah.
So,
I mean,
can I ask a question?
Oh yeah, go right ahead.
Do you know how to play the guitar? So you're sort of faking what you would normally do?
Yes, I actually took a class at College of Marin for a couple of months a year or two ago, before COVID, and it so I actually was an air guitarist before I was a guitarist, but a lot of the learning process beforehand was just watching demos on YouTube just to see how the hands of the player moved and where they were on the guitar. And after we took my husband and I took the class, we actually get now like not only the finger technical side, but also just the weight and the shape of the guitar in your arms. So yeah, and a lot of people before they start their skit, they they do the thing where they're bringing it over their head, so they're really holding it. They're like ready to play the guitar. So, and that usually gets recognition from the judges. They appreciate that you put the guitar on. So it's pretty funny.
What a riot.
It is. It really is. And if you want to just peek into the world, I highly recommend going to YouTube and searching US air guitar. And
I will do that.
I mean, it's great with a glass of wine. It's what I like to call a whole lot of stupid fun. And you're laughing and crying, and it's amazing. Or you're crying because you're laughing so hard. And you're cheering because it's incredible. I mean, it's so creative. So yeah.
Okay.
And it's definitely helped me with stage presence and getting over stage fright and whatnot, and just being able to really kind of represent myself more as a creative, as a person, all of that. So yeah, kind of. It's fun.
And,
Oh.
oh my goodness.
Yeah, and then this
Yeah.
is kind of just my like my favorite photo, ringing back to the beginning of my creative beginning right after college, where I was just, you know, just starting to understand composition and everything, and it's also just kind of a little sentimental cry out for, I hope everyone has a good 4th of July.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Very nice.
yeah,
And
and then
oh,
yeah,
pardon.
go. Oh, I'm all ears for any questions, and yeah.
If anyone has anything else they'd like to ask about air guitar or about the art.
Sure, right, exactly. Any of the above, or I could go back to other slides of the show.
Which I want to say, because some people came late, and I see, but
Yeah.
we're recording this, so if you want to see it from the beginning, or if you know somebody that's out hiking that should be watching this right now, you can tell them that it's going to be on our community center website under we have a section called the video event library, or virtual event video library. It's some collection of words like that. It's a very obvious box when you get to our website, and that's where we've been collecting our little salons that we've been doing like this. So you can watch this one with Anne from the beginning, and you can also see some of the other ones that we've done with other artists in the Valley. And it's real easy to find by just going to the community center's website, which is sgvcc.org. And that's just a heads up on that. And please tell people also, because I know that we've been doing this since the beginning of the year, and I anticipate continuing to do them, but I'm not always sure, which people will be out on nice sunny days like this, or which people will be sitting and watching. It was easier when we had a nice pandemic to keep everybody locked in, but
Right.
but we will still do these because they're great documents as well of our
Yeah.
Valley arts.
Yeah, it's just so inspiring just to hear you talk. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm trying to copy down your
Oh,
platforms.
And they're also in the chat, so if you want to just go to the chat,
Oh.
and you could copy and paste all of that as well.
Okay.
Yeah, if you click
Yeah.
on chat, you'll find a little list of the links on the side there.
Right. And I used to work for the Marin Symphony, and I know that there is that kind of pull of, when can we get the right crowds to come and attend, and I think weeknights or even later in the evening can sometimes, or not late, but starting around 6 or 7 can help with that as well. But it's just kind of maybe even putting out a poll to see what works, both for you, obviously, because you have to be able to.
Also, it's Father's Day, so people are doing Father's Day things probably.
Well, and the thing is, obviously the fact that we're doing these virtual events has been part of our whole transitioning and adapting to that.
Right.
And now we're transitioning, we're right now in this sort of kind of strange hybrid where we're half able to go out and do things and sort of limited to what we can do. And certainly the community center we're not quite open. We can be open for some very limited things and outdoor things, but so we are in kind of a transitional state. So we probably will make adjustments to this, but I would love to keep some form of the salon, even maybe in-person salons.
Ooh.
Though even while I say that, I realize, but then we kind of lose a little bit of the peak at the studio environment and some of the other elements. So, but anyway, anything like this that we can do that kind of brings people together and people see each other's work and see each other's techniques, and what it's very inspirational, kind of gets everybody's engine roaring a little bit more, I think, to go out and make some more stuff.
Right, yeah. I also enjoyed being able to kind of pull together a collection of everything, because it helped me kind of organize my thoughts of just who I am and why my brain works like this. And it's been helpful for me even because of that. But I also enjoy just being able to share it. So this has been a wonderful opportunity. So,
yeah, and for me too. I mean, I always, when I'm listen to and watch something like this where I see someone who keeps working, basically, whether it's do a sketch every day or have a specific project, that kind of makes me realize, well, I'm supposed to be doing more.
Right. I mean, it doesn't always feel like work. I think that's part of it. And I think once you do start focusing on, trying to make a committed schedule, or, once you start to challenge yourself, it does feel like a little bit of work, but the joy and passion is still there. And if there's ever a dry spell, I just feel like there's so many ways to kind of just invigorate yourself again. Like, I've been getting into art-based podcasts, like the Lisa Congdon series sessions. Lisa Congdon, she's a great artist and illustrator, and she has these this podcast series now where it's just how to keep like a consistent routine, or how to find your style, or just that's nice. And then also Windowsill Chats is just a series of interviews with artists and creatives that I think just hearing people talk about overcoming the stress of COVID or overcoming dry spells or what have you, it's just really nice to listen to that while you're painting, or just while you're working, because it really hearing that just definitely inspires you to get back into it, I think, because they give you tips and whatnot. I think there's Creative Thursday is wonderful too. So yeah, there's a lot out there. Once you search art podcasts, it's an endless amount. So yeah.
Well, you have so much information, Penny.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I'm definitely, I mean, I like to research, anything art related, just to make sure that I've got my hands in everything, and it's been helpful. Oh, and I could go on forever about social media with art too, and I'm still learning every day. There's just so much about social media that can help you with your presence, your online presence, but also with just learning from other artists or having a community. And the Chester Arnold classes that I took, it kind of opened up this online community that we still maintain because we love to keep in touch. And it just being able to feel accountable with local artists, but online because of the COVID and whatnot. It just feeds the routine and the inspiration and the support. It's just a wonderful source to have. So yeah, the internet's always there, and it can be distracting too. So, but yeah.
And just Laurel, I have a question for you. I know you do a lot of ceramic work, but have you done any of those other kind of online Etsy or any other format, or do you?
I think I signed up for Etsy a long time ago, and I didn't really use it. And then, do you remember Nancy Adams, Larry? Ceramics. Anyway, I saw her stuff on Etsy, and I thought, things are being sold for so little, knowing the work she put into that. And that sort of discouraged me, because some of the ceramics I make take forever, it seems like. And but you're making me think, well, I could make some cups and put them on there.
Tiny sculptures, what have you, anything that's.
I'm just curious, because I know that you've done a lot of, well, fairs and etc. And people have all these different approaches.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna look at your other platforms, and it's just so interesting to learn all this.
Oh yeah, there's so much out there, and I know it's a different medium, or I know sculpture or ceramics is very different in terms of when you sell online, then the shipping is it's a much bigger ordeal.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
Yeah, you'd have to consider how fragile it is.
Right.
Whatever I'm trying to sell, is it too fragile to ship? Really?
Exactly. Yeah.
Or, yeah. So I love your cats.
Thank you. Yeah,
They must be popular.
they are. One of the craft fairs I go to actually is a cat fair, and it's not really crafty, but they have a series of crafters, off on the side in the huge building in Santa Rosa when they have it, and it's just it's great because you get to watch all the cat competitions and get to know all of the different characters that are there, and it's just wonderful. And my calendars that I usually do each year are the cat paintings. So
And I could buy one of those online?
not right now, but usually probably by around October or November, I usually have that ready to go. So, and I usually have a table at the Novato Crafts. Oh, who's this?
Lucky wants one.
Oh my gosh, yay, what a cutie. You said Lucky?
He needs a calendar.
Oh, that's awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love your cats. I love the whimsy and the colors.
Thank you so much. Yeah, you should come to the cat fair or
I
next time.
should.
Yeah, you would really love it. I mean, it's just, they also have great, tables for cat owners that are just, offering tips or, whatever, like new foods or what have you. So it's really fun.
Totally. I'll do that.
And cat ears, people make cat ears like woven and whatnot that are always fun. So yeah, that's wonderful. But yeah, thank you. Yeah, it's also about just getting yourself out there in terms of craft fairs in general for sales. Do you do that with your ceramics?
I used to. I don't really anymore.
It's a lot of work. It's a lot
especially ceramics. It's getting heavy for me.
Right. Oh my gosh.
Heavy to carry around.
That's a lot. Yeah. Yeah. Especially if they tell you to bring the table as well. It's just like, oh geez.
Or the whole booth. I just can't. I can't do that anymore.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can get that. Yeah. I like the fairs that say we already have the table. It's indoors. Just bring your stuff. Yeah. those are helpful for me.
Yeah, that's Laurel. If you haven't checked out when I mentioned the other salons, you might check out Liz Lauter, who does a lot of ceramics, and I think she had a lot of different angles on how she was
really
marketing her work, and because I think
Liz Lauter.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I know Liz.
Yeah, it was a very informative little session.
I went to that. That was wonderful.
So you already said okay.
Yeah, but I wanted to ask her some other things too.
Yeah. And yeah, so she's a great source of information. But yeah, this has been wonderful. Thank you so much. Oh, any other questions or comments?
All righty.
All right.
Well, thank you. Anne, for doing this, and thank you for folks for showing up.
Thank you. This has been wonderful.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad I remembered.
And and Marie, also, again, if you want to see the beginning of it, it will be on our website. It won't be immediately. I don't know. That's usually another person who takes care of the technology and that, but they'll kind of edit edges off and put it on the website in that little library that I mentioned, so you can see which parts you missed. And Marie does ceramic dogs that are really great, or has done ceramic dogs that are really great. Just the balance things. It's not all cats. We got some
dog people too.
Yeah, that's awesome. Oh, I love dogs too. So
But they're heavy pieces. They're not something you.
Thank you so much.
That's great to know. Well, thank you. This has been so nice. And it's nice to get to know other artists in the Valley. So yeah, I hope we can all see each other again soon.
Yeah, I hope to meet you in person sometime.
Yeah.
Well, we've all been in the same rooms together at the spring art shows and stuff. It's just, not always that kind of knowledge though, who's who. That always impressed me. So well, anyway, I think we're going to wrap this up. And I do thank you all for being a part of this. This has been really a great session, I think.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. You did a great job. It's really very informative and kind of inspirational.
Really?
Thank you. Yeah. Let's see what medium I'm working with next year.
So we will see you all sometime in 3 dimensions.
Bye.
Bye.
Yeah.
Bye.